Neuroscience is my thing and I thrive in it.
I've arrived as a neuroscientist and the spotlight is on me, honey.
When I walk into a room, I own it.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I was initially really nervous about this class. The scariest part was not knowing my lab partner, Brandy. But fortunately, it all worked out and we got along great girl. But it all just seemed to happen so quickly. Just after 2 weeks, we had to weigh and handle our rat every single day. That's a lot of responsibility. And by the end of it, he really packed on the pounds, almost broke the scale at 600 grams. Luckily though, we did learn all of the steps and even had time to practice a few things before we actually went into the actual surgical procedure. Being able to practice the suturing on pig's feet especially helped, even though by the time we actually did the surgery, I left most of the work up to Brandy as far as suturing goes.
Proposal, we decided to lesion the amygdala, which is the brain structure involved in the regulation of emotions such as fear and aggression, and plays a role in motivational behaviors. The current study we proposed explored the amygdala's function in regards to risk-taking behavior in rats. We predicted that when there was a threat of a predator, such as a brightly lit area or the scent of a predator, the rat would avoid these areas of the maze more than other areas.
Well, we initially thought that the H-maze would be a good idea for our testing, but after initially proposing to the panel of critics, they decided that there were a good number of reasons why the H-maze wouldn't work. So as a result, we had to change to the T-maze for our actual experiment.
We performed a risk-reward assessment on rat number 1 in 8 separate trials by testing whether the fear of a predator would decrease the rat's exploratory behavior. The testing was equally performed in both brightly lit and completely dark areas. A carrot was placed in alternating arms as the reward, and bobcat urine was introduced in one arm for half of the trials. We recorded the number of head pokes and the amount of time the rat spent in each arm to assess his fear of exploration and whether or not the reward of obtaining the carrot was worth the risk of entering the predator-smelling and/or brightly lit arm. Consistent with our predictions, he seemed to spend the most time in the back of the middle arm, in the darkest area of the maze, and furthest away from the predator urine when it was included.
This class was overall great, and I'm glad Dr. Becker kind of forced me a little bit to do it. Meeting Michaela and Brandy, at first I sent them an email, but after that it was pretty great. Pre-surgery, I wasn't in class when they did pig's foot, so I didn't really have an idea of how they were suturing. But when I got that email saying that the class was going to be here, I was kind of nervous, but kept my calm, cool collected. During surgery, we directed them to cut past the brain, so exposing his muscles. But Brandy and Michaela were okay, and even though there was tears shed, I think overall they did great that day.
Finally, the day came when we injected the rat with a pre-anesthetic and anesthetic and prepped him and ourselves for surgery. An incision was made in order to expose the skull, where we were able to measure and inscribe where our lesion needed to be. We performed a veneer reading to accurately place our electrode in the amygdala before administering an electric lesion. Both holes were filled with bone wax, and the surgery site was then closed with a suture. Our rat was allowed to independently wake up and recovered in the following 24 hours.
How did I feel going into surgery? Well, I definitely felt very nervous, especially considering we had limited hands-on experience with cutting and suturing. And I also got nervous hearing the students were coming morning of because we did not expect that at all. But once the students got there, started asking questions and seemed very interested, and we actually began the surgery and talked it out. I definitely think it ran very smooth. There were a few setbacks, but overall it was a very good experience. Stressful at the time, but by the time we finished, it was definitely a sense of relief, and I felt very confident in our surgery. "24
hours after the surgery, we handled and weighed our rat. This was a daily task. We had to wait a week after surgery to begin our post-behavioral testing so our rat could properly recover. For the post-testing, we repeated the same 8 trials that we did for the pre-testing. Our rat seemed very active in general and seemed curious about all areas of the maze and even more curious about what was going on outside of the maze. He spent most of his time in the center of the arms because this was the most spacious area for him to move around. In the post-testing, the rat did not seem interested in the carrot at all. The trials with the urine did not pose a threat to the rat, considering he spent just as much time in these arms as he did in the arms with the carrot. Awesome experience. I wouldn't change a thing for my lab partner.
I love neuroscience, and you will too.
Woo!
I was like going for it.
Oh, can we get this? Okay. No, okay. Don't panic. Don't panic. Put pressure
And pull it down.
and pull up. You're okay. Don't freak out.
Ready? Put pressure.
Yeah. Put pressure.
Go.
Put pressure.
Go ahead. There you go.
There you go. It's okay. You're okay.
You're good.
And
Oh.